So what's included in the kit? In the kit you get a set of blue needle illuminations, a set of red needle illuminations. You will get a tool to calibrate the needles in order to put them back on in the correct locations. You will get a remote for the LED controller for the LED panel, as well as the needed resistors to convert, in this case, only the tacho to be a 10,000 RPM tacho, but also if it was a right-hand drive kit with a 180 kilometers per hour gauge phase originally, you will get a resistor to convert that into a 320 kilometer per hour gauge phase. And that's that. Then you get a complete plug-and-play LED panel for illuminating the gauge with high-quality LEDs with a long lifespan without the normal problem with the blinking of the cheap LEDs, as well as a set of gauge faces. The gauge faces are made not with a printer, but by multiple layers of powder. They are handmade, and the finish on the gauge faces are almost identical to original faces, only normally they just look like original, but without the sun damage. It's hard to see on video, but you will be able to see that clearly when you compare these with the original ones in real life. First, remove the shifter panel. It is fastened with clips here, here, and here. Best way is to put your fingers in the hole a little bit and pull up. And over here as well, yeah, like that. Then on the bottom side here, there's a connector. Remove that connector and put the panel to the side. Next up, remove the top panel. Best is a short screwdriver, otherwise you can get in there from the steering wheel with a long one by turning the steering wheel. We'll use a short one. Go up, see if you can find the screws, and remove. This one is already empty. There is a total of 5 screws if they are not none missing. Then the panel should be able to come down and out, like so. Then on this side there's a connector here, and on this side 2 connectors, one for the emergency lights and one for the other heads-up display. And then this panel is out as well. Then remove the middle part of the cluster. It's held in there with 4 clips up here and down there. So all you have to do is pull it out, and it comes out like that. This is how the clips look. Next, remove this panel. It's held in with 1 screw up here. There we go. And then clips. So just pull out all the way around like that. And then on the back you have, in this case, 3 connectors. It can be more or less. You have one down here for this one. You have one here. And you have one here. Then remove the radio panel. It's held in with 1 screw up here. Then for the rest, again, it's clips. You pull out down here and then up here. It comes out. And then here we have a lot of connectors. We have down here. If you have any buttons down here, you will have connectors in those. In this case, 2 piece. Then on the back for the AC control panel, you got 2 connectors, and then for the clock as well, 1 connector. And last, the cigarette lighter. It has the power connector and for the light. Then the panel can come out like so. As well, clips on the back, 2 down here, 1 here, 2 here, 1 there, and 1 there. And now we can remove the cluster. Now we remove the 4 screws that hold in the cluster. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. The 2 top ones are pretty easy. Those first. The 2 bottom ones are easy as well. However, there's a good chance that you will drop them. If you drop them, you will have to remove the lower panel of the dashboard as well. I'll try and avoid it by leaving them in the dash. Like so. And then gently pulling it out with the screws and the holes still. Now, take it out a good way, and then you cannot see this, but on the back there is 3 or 2 connectors, depending on if you're automatic or manual. From the cluster, sorry, no, 4 connectors or 3 connectors. This can be a bitch to get out. Oh, there. And then there we go. Connector here, here, and here. We're gonna remove the clear plastic. It is mounted around the perimeter with these clips. So all you do is push it in and out, and you just keep going all the way around the edge. Sometimes doing 2 at a time helps. Like that. Then plastic comes off. Next step is the black shroud here. Same again, but then the other tabs. There we go. Like that. There's the side. First, reset the needles. Just go slowly to empty, and that one will fall down by itself. If you want to preserve the faces, take a piece of paper, lay it under the needle, like so, and then simply pry the needle up. Like so. It's stuck on there, but this is how you take them off. Don't worry too much if they move while you take them off, because we have the calibration tools to recalibrate the needle location. Same thing again. There we go. Then these ones. This cluster has never been taken apart before. There we go. And the last one. There we go. That way the needles are removed. As you can see, the faces are still okay. Next step is removing the 3 faces. They simply are stuck on there with double-sided tape, so you just pull them off, and then they are off. Like that. Then if there's any leftover tape, remove that with a knife or with your finger. It's not necessarily very stuck on there. Take a small screwdriver and remove the screws from the motors. Next up, remove the acrylic plates. And then, because this one is automatic, it is having this extra piece of plastic PCB something that holds it to the back of it. Gonna remove that. Bring this out through the hole. Like so. So next up, the only modification needed to be done to the cluster. First, we're gonna just remove the automatic transmission lights. We will no longer be needing those. And then this flat piece of plastic up here is in the way for the new LED panel, so you're gonna cut it here. And it will snap off. Then you can clean up the rest, like so. And you're done. So, in order to make the LED lighting of the needles even better, it is optional to remove the conical part of the holes where the needles comes through. Let me see if I can show it better. The hole here has an unclear section here, which is a conical section. If you Dremel that out in the circumference of what you see here on each of them, as well as here a little bit and here, then the needle illumination will look a bit better. If you don't wish to modify your cluster any further, you do not have to either. The needle illumination will still work. In this case, we're not going to do it in order to show you how it looks without modifying the holes. Next, we're going to change the resistor on the tach in order to make it into a 10,000 RPM tach. So first we're going to remove these 3 screws. Next up, we're going to replace this resistor with the resistor included in the kit, this one. If you have a right-hand drive J-spec kit, you will have 2 resistors. They are marked on the end with RPM in this case, which is for the tach, and the other one is speed, SPD. In this case, Euro spec, we only need to replace 1 resistor. So get yourself a soldering iron and something to remove solder with, and then remove the resistor. Since the legs are bent over, it's a little bit difficult to take them out, so it can take a little bit of violence in a sec when we remove the most of this tin. Okay, so now we're gonna heat them up and pry them out at the same time. Like that. And you can take soldering iron and heat on the leg, and that should heat up the solder as well. Then the other side, like that, and see if we can sneak it out of the hole. There we go. Now make sure that both holes are clear so that you can install the new resistor. Put it through the hole and through the other hole and pull it down. It does not have to be polarized, meaning there is no plus and minus. You can put it in any direction. Then bend the legs outward and add some new solder. Like so. Take a pair of cutters and cut away the excess. And you're done. Ready to install back into the cluster again. This is a left-hand drive cluster, but if this was a right-hand drive speedo, which looks the same, you would replace the resistor here with the other resistor included in the kit. Tach motor back in, so gonna flip it around and put in the screws. Now we're going to remove the light bulbs. So just take out this one, this one, this one, this one. They're all green. And take out the light bulbs. And put them to the side. And now you can put the fittings back in. Only one of the fittings will be needed later. Like so. Now I'm going to take the new LED panel, and things to be aware of is to guide the cable up and into this fitting, as well as you can see it's notched all over the place for fitting around original features in the cluster. And getting it around here can be a little bit fiddly, but I will show you now. Plug in the connector on the board down there. Make sure that the wire goes up, like so. Then fit the right side here around the motor and twist it into position. Then start moving it down. If the cable's in the way, you just put it up. Just start moving it down. Wherever you hit something, just press. Like so. And then here, it is made to not fit perfectly in order to give a little bit of friction. So bend up this part a little bit and then press it down. This way this will not rattle. When the panel is all the way seated, you can now install the screws in the bottom. These screws are included in the bag with the remote, and the bag is battery as well. So let's remove that now. Three screws. One goes here, one goes here, one goes here. This one, because of the The LED controller on the back is not necessary. Take a small screwdriver, feed them through the holes, press and screw. It will thread itself into the plastic, like so. And so. This way the panel will not come loose or rattle at any point in time. Check that everything runs nicely. Check it underneath that it doesn't hit places where it shouldn't. If it all looks okay, then you're good to go. Next up, install the needle illumination boards. In this case we will install red ones. I have two different types. One with 2 holes and one with 4. The ones with 2 holes are for the tank, for the fuel and for the temperature. And the other 2 are for the speed and for the tach. So, feed them underneath the PCB, get them back up and plug them in. They only plug in one way. This is a little bit hard if you have fat fingers like me. Like so. And like so. Try to shape the wires so that they don't touch anything that they shouldn't and are not in the way of the LEDs too much. Like so. This one also bend it a bit. That's okay. That's okay. Next, we can reinstall the acrylic faces. The LED, the needle illumination panels simply sandwich in between, like so. There is some guide pins on the top of the speed and the tach, so we just use those to align the panel, like so. And then we put back in the screws. Now see, we need to make sure that the wire does not get caught in between, like that, like so. Then we take the next one and do the same thing again. Use the like so, make sure that the wire isn't caught anything, and screw the screws back in. And then the last one, which is the most difficult one, the fuel and the temp does not have any centering holes, so we will have to just get them close first by bending the wires a little, so that they stay somewhat in position, and then use the acrylic panel and some tools to guide them into position. Going to put one screw in just to hold it in position, just very loosely. This side also. And then move the illuminations into in front of the final hole, like so. One more screw. And then the last one. Before you tighten them all the way down, make sure that they are not hitting anything that they shouldn't. Just inspect it, see if you can see anything wrong. And if it's all good, just bolt them all the way down. Next, make a small hole and right below this, how do you say it, halo on the plastic from the production thing. Just burn a small hole with a soldering iron, just so it has a little bit of a depth to it, and then take a knife and cut away the excess. Like so. This is just to make space for the bottom of the needle, so that the face sits flush. Again, I'm just making sure that there is nothing that pokes up, so that the face can be installed nice and flush, like that. Then we need to remove the needles from your original faces. I'm gonna put on a set of gloves now, just to make sure that I don't damage the old faces or the new faces. These needles are just melted onto the backside. So what you do is you scrape the plastic in a bit. We will still need it, so don't cut it off if you can avoid it. Just peen it in so that you can get the needle out through the hole. Like that. You will be able to feel it coming more and more loose until it comes out, like so. Now we can put away the old faces. It will no longer be needed in them. And take the new ones instead. The new ones are pre-installed with new tape on the back. And now remove them from the plate. It is. Try to avoid touching them too much. Just need to be moving them back and forth a little bit when they pop loose. Like so. Now take the face, put the needle through, hold it against it from the back side like this, and take a soldering iron and just gently melt down the plastic. So that the needle is held in place, kind of like it was originally. Make sure the needle is somewhat straight from all directions while the plastic is still hot, and then just have it cool off. And do the next one. This one clicks in, nice. And again, Just melt down the plastic. Make sure not to get any plastic in front of where the light has to shine through. And this is why I wear gloves, in order to avoid damaging the faces. Take some glass cleaner or some alcohol or something to degrease the faces with, and just rub them clean from grease. Make sure that they are completely dry. And install the faces. Remove the backing of the tape. And just simply align the knob here and the knob here with the holes in the faces, like so, and press down where the tape was. And then take the next one. Same thing again, here and here. Put it on, press it down. And the last one. Again, here and here. Align the holes. Up there. And press down. Now your faces are installed. If you have installed blue needle illumination, you will have to take the needles and remove the red layer. You do this by taking some fine, very fine sandpaper and simply rubbing them until the red is away. That way you will have a clear needle and will have blue light. Since we have installed red illumination, we keep the coating on in this case. If you would like to have a more clear red, then if the coating is on top, you can also remove it as well. Now it comes time to calibrate the needles, but first put this back on to protect the faces. Just put it in, press down, and then that's installed again. Take out your calibration tool. The calibration tool is marked on the PCB. So here you have plus and minus power. Those you will give power from some 12 volt supply. And then IG plus, you can see here on the cluster, it says IG plus, and you put this on the bolt right there. And then G is for the G right here. The SI sits over here. SI. The IG minus sits up here. Then we have another G for ground. Goes on this side, on either this one, the lowest bolt, or the other one up here. Put it down here. Then we have yellow one is for T, temperature. Goes right here. And then the last one is F for fuel, and it's up here. Once that's done, you connect the plus and the minus to some kind of 12 volt supply. It can be a battery, it can be a power supply. As long as it's 12 volts, it's happy days. Flip it around. have, again, a 12 volt supply of some sort. And what I do is I put on the needle, but without pressing it down. So just loosely on top, just to indicate on the fuel. Especially on the fuel, because the fuel has a delay circuit, which means it will go up very slowly. This means that you will put power on it, and then it will go up very slowly. And when it stops moving, then you move the needle back off and put it on full. I will show you in a second how that looks. Same with these ones. Again, do not press them down, just loosely on top. Now turn on the power and the needles will come up. The RPM one needs to be at 2000 RPM. Like so. And the speed at 150 kilometers per hour. Right there. So we can turn off the power. See them all go down and back up. If you're satisfied that they are at 2000 RPM, it can be a little bit better. And then check again, just that we are happy with the position. 2150, I'm happy with that. I can push them all the way down. Like so. And now they should move freely. Good. Now, for the fuel level and the water temperature, as you can see, the water temperature moves fairly quickly. However, the fuel does not move at all. So for the water temperature, we're gonna put it on max. See if I can hit something here. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. A little bit above max, but that's okay. Turn it off. See it drop all the way down to nothing. Yep, and back up to full. Yes. Then only the fuel. This is simply a question of waiting. After a while it will be at full, but I just use the needle as an indication to show whether or not it's stopped moving yet or not. As you can see, it's moving very slowly. It just needs time. Leave it for 5-10 minutes just to make sure that it's all the way up as high as it can get. Once it's there, you can take the needle off and put it on exactly full. In the meantime, we're gonna go polish up the lens. So now the needle has come up. As you can see, it looks pretty good. We will now push it down again, slowly. The needle is still not mounted fully properly, and we will let it come up again. If it comes up and it hits full, then you can just push it all the way down. The reason why I show it now, let's say it was come up and it wasn't all the way up, you take it off, put it on full, push it down to empty, and you let it come up one more time, just to confirm that it is indeed correct. And once you have confirmed that it is correct, you can just push it down and you're good to go. And now the needle is all the way up. Push it all the way down. Like that. And then we are good to go. Now you can turn off the power. turn it around again, and remove all the calibration tools. These are no longer needed for anything at all. Then you can take your newly polished plastic, if you did polish it, and mount that as well. Make sure that all the tabs are clicked in everywhere. And if they are, your new cluster is done. Now you can mount the cluster back in the car. Like so. And test if it works. The way to test this is you need to put it in like that, and you need to mount the left panel as well. Because the power for the illumination goes through the dimmer. So we could plug in the dimmer, and put it in temporarily, just so it doesn't get scratched up. Let's see. Like so. Now you can turn on the ignition, and you can see that the cluster works. As you can see, the fuel is now falling because that the fuel level in the tank is lower than it was for our test. Turn on the light. As you can see, the cluster does not turn on. So take the included remote and press on the on button. In order to flip the polarity, take out the connector which you put in the LED panel, turn it 180 degrees and put it back in. We have installed the LED controller on the cluster so that you can choose all the way from extremely bright all the way down to extremely dim on the lighting. This gives you the opportunity to set the base light output of the cluster to what is most comfortable and what fits the best with the rest of your interior lighting. The way you do that is that you select 25, 50 or 100%, and then you can fine tune with the bright plus and bright minus button as well. Once you have selected the desired brightness level, the controller will remember this setting, and that will be your base max setting. What you should do after that, what you can always do after that, is fine tune with the original button. You can still dim some with the dimmer like normal, but this is to set your base setting of the most bright you want it at night. Once that's set, you can discard the remote or save it for later adjustments, but you do not have to set this every time you start the car. This is one time and then you're done. Currently we cover left-hand drive, right-hand drive, miles per hour and kilometers per hour in the TRD design, as well as the colors of lighting as you see in the kit. However, we are also able to create custom kits at an additional cost. So for that, please contact us. If you have any suggestions, we are very open to that as well for other designs or looks or lighting or whatever. So just contact us for that as well, and we might maybe make standardized kits for that as well. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll be happy with your new kit.